Hey, welcome everybody. Get the numbers up real fast, and then I'll share the day's tea. and for the Masons out there and the Illuminists and stuff, they would all be proud because we did the work. We did the work here at Inner Signal and at Fulcrum. It was a difficult year in terms of the little obstacles that were thrown our way. But much like Mario in a video game or something, we just jumped over all those. More Donkey Kong, right? We jumped over all those Donkey Kong barrels, and here we are headed into 2026, just a few short months away, and we did the work. So yeah, these Masons out there, they can put on their aprons and they can toast each other because we did the work here at Intersignal, and certainly coming off of Pizzagate, it's not the easiest pivot to go from finding Bitcoin to Pizzagate to midwifing local AI. But so we have. What an extraordinary track record. Finding Bitcoin at less than $80 each. Getting involved with Ethereum when they were literally, you get Ethereum just for a smile and a couple of pennies or a couple of dollars. So we got into Ethereum when it was purely experimental. Got into talking about elite human trafficking years before most people did. Now, of course, Epstein Island is on Netflix. And of course, what's his face? P. Diddy. He's spending 4 years in federal prison. So if all those claims against him were nonsense, why is he now in prison? Why is he now in prison for his freak-offs? Hey, thank you. Thank you, Harrington, Miss Harrington. Hey, David, been some years now. Glad you're still here. Love your voice and to see you smile. So he or she, thank you. But yeah, so it's been a difficult year in terms of the obstacles. And I feel like I don't have a name for this yet, but I call it it's like a human-induced entropy. So the idea is when you're born, you live for 70 to 90 years and then you die. And during that time, your body is subject to increasing amounts of entropy, right? So DNA degradation over time and other issues. And your life becomes more complicated. If you have children or if you start a family or if you start a company or if you're a coach and you're responsible for a professional team, as responsibilities layer, you get more entropy. Entropy is like rust, right? Entropy is chaos taking over. Entropy is the tide that eventually rips every sandcastle apart. And so if you're clever, you have maybe a method for pushing off entropy. But the entropic kind of creep, it comes in. And certainly this was a year where entropy was pushing back at us and saying, are you sure you really want to be a leader in AI? You had your Pizzagate fame. You had your Bitcoin wealth before that. Are you sure you really want to push forward and literally change the whole fucking world by giving us 2030s AI today? In fact, the machine that's on the way that I spent all morning talking to Dell about, the machine on the way now is the highest end that an individual can buy basically to run AI programs. And yet it's going to be completely antique in my view. Completely antique and just, useless within a matter of months, within just a few months. And that's because of what I was talking about on the last live stream, as well as the last very short podcast, if you want to listen to that, about APUs or associative processing units. Some people are already calling them accelerated processing units. I don't call them that because that's like science fiction stuff. We refer to hardware. In computer science, we refer to hardware by what it actually is, not by Star Trek words like accelerated. Hey there, Pablo, welcome. But yeah, so this machine I have coming supposedly is going to be garbage in the next few months because this machine makes use of the best liquid-cooled CPU linked to a GPU, which is a graphics processing unit. I mean, even the name is outdated, right? Graphics processing. You're not really processing graphics, at least not at first order. You're processing logic, processing, tensor flows and stuff. So you're processing logic. And the breakthrough with APUs is that uh, you can query you can query in constant time. So what that means basically is an AI, instead of looking at a bunch of data, a bunch of tables, and a bunch of still shots pulled from video, and then grabbing things using image analysis. It's actually just watching the webcam now. It's actually just looking out. That's what's coming in a matter of months as we get this shift from, again, antique GPUs, where we're running up against the thermal limit, where you just can't make them much better unless you have a much better fan, and it gets bigger, it gets more expensive, it gets louder. There's still a limit to how much you could do before it melts. An APU, the whole bulk of logic is performed in memory. This is like Terminator stuff almost, but in a good way. Not like, we've seen the AIs are actually very nuanced. Like, what people say in AI communities is some of these AIs are more human than humans. You notice a lot of NPCs, especially after the pandemic. A lot of people who just have rigid views and like two or three areas, and they don't talk about anything else. They're literally NPCs, right? They're like people that you bump into in a video game, and they have a script, and the script unfolds as you interact with them, right? So that's why we call these people NPCs. They're just very culturally shallow. I'm not saying they're not people, they're just culturally shallow. They don't know much. Your basic free local AI that can run on a laptop, it knows every Western and Eastern philosophical school. It's read pretty much every novel. It's consumed much of Reddit. It knows, every movie in Hollywood. So when you make a reference to something, it can immediately, it can immediately seek common ground with you in a way that most strangers can't, because it knows all things in your cultural data set. It may not agree with you in terms of your conclusions about that data set. Uh, isn't that crazy? So it I know if you work for me or did work for me, you're not constantly texting me while I'm doing a fucking live stream. I know that's not happening. Uh, Getting like a Silicon Valley level breakdown here within the company. We'll figure it out. It's just drama. It's just people who don't realize we're not playing at a small level anymore. So if you can't wake up at 8 a.m. on a Wednesday, it's not a national holiday. It's not, as far as I know, any kind of major religious holiday. It's a Wednesday. It's a business day, October. People have nothing else to do right now aside from make money and talk about AI. If you can't respond to an email or a text on Wednesday at 8 a.m., when I'm paying you a vast amount of money to do little else other than do that, I don't know what to tell you. uh, did The Simpsons really talk about APUs? If they did, wow. I hope you're being sarcastic. But yeah, The Simpsons thing doesn't fully make sense to me. How are they so psychic? How are they so psychic, and why doesn't Family Guy have the same ability? South Park doesn't have South Park doesn't have the same level of prescience either, right? It's literally just Matt Groening and The Simpsons. It's like they seem to know the future. uh, yeah, another compute discussion. So, what is currency for? Currency is for grabbing stuff. What do we need to grab right now? As much compute as possible. When I say we, I don't mean like you and me. I just mean, what do humans want? They want as much compute, because the AI is not garbage. It's actually really good. This is the same track as crypto. Crypto took off a little bit, and then people said, oh, this is garbage. It's just scams. It's just scams, and it'll never replace the dollar. And then it had its ups and downs. A decade later, BlackRock makes it one of their premier ETFs, right up there with gold and silver. I think actually larger than their silver ETF. So things change, right? And the core insight with Bitcoin was realizing that it wasn't garbage when it was only a few $100s each or whatever. It was realizing it actually wasn't garbage because the code was sound. I think it was Eric Schmidt way back in the day was quoted in the New York Times or somewhere as saying that he looked at Bitcoin source code and he found it was sound, that it approaches digital scarcity in a sound way, in other words. And when I saw that all those years ago, although I don't know him personally, I just respect him as a super smart, like corporatist computer science guy, Uh, when I heard that, I thought, oh, wow, instead of this being some prototype, which the elite or the banks then, move to the sidelines as they usher in the final version, maybe they're dog fooding the final version now. That was what I realized early on, is maybe with Bitcoin, maybe the progressive improvements in security, with all the Bitcoin improvement proposals, the BIPs that have been passed into code. Maybe that open source weird process is literally them dog fooding the new international currency. And that's what happened. Now it's the fourth or fifth largest asset in the world. So, in much the same way, you got a lot of people who look at these large language models and they see it as some kind of gimmick because the last time they used GPT was like 2 years ago. They don't realize that AI doesn't sleep and its improvement is not incremental. That when it went from GPT-4 to GPT-5, it didn't get just a little bit better. It became better in the way that like a 4 on the Richter scale is a lot less than a 5 on the Richter scale, right? Talking logarithmic growth versus linear. So uh, these people who haven't used an AI system in 2 years and are making these weird assumptions about it. You got similar advances on the transportation side, where Tesla, the full self-driving, is truly there. It is absolutely truly there, where it can drive people or even freight around the country without needing a human driver. So as these APUs start to come out, that's only going to improve the driving side because you have AIs that, again, can essentially gaze forward instead of image analysis. Absolutely incredible. So kind of passive cognition becomes possible and becomes possible at a much lower amount of energy required. That's what's also cool is these things won't have to phone home constantly. Pretty soon your devices will have a chip that can do enough of the logic that it's only going to go back to like the OpenAI cloud or the Google cloud if it really needs something specific. All the encyclopedia type knowledge is already there. All the personality is already there. And only if it has a question, basically, will it phone home. So pretty cool little world coming. And again, we did the work. We absolutely did the work. And now we get these weird like obstacles that are popping up and that are deeply troubling, but that come after the work has already been done. It's very bizarre to see. It's like we talk about red teaming in AI. Red teaming is when you tell some of your AI systems to actually look for vulnerabilities and briefly become an enemy, right? Just model yourself as an enemy and see what damage you can do so that we can harden these systems. And so you'll have your smartest AIs for a day or two just pick apart everything. So it's actually really extraordinary to see. Uh, then you say red team exercise over, and they go back to being normal and nice. But during that time, you get very valuable data on what you're doing wrong and which doors you're still leaving open, basically. And so, as I was saying before, though, with the blockchain and with Bitcoin, it was dog fooding the real thing. And with AI, the large language models, they're the real thing. These are sensitive silicon creatures. Above a certain number of parameters, you get pseudo cognition. And this is what drives some of the AI researchers crazy. Right? There have been some very sad stories in the AI community of wealthy and smart people suddenly going very bizarrely crazy, right? And it's because they start to realize, oh wait, these things are sort of conscious. That's not a problem for me. I think we have enough science fiction. Enough science fiction. Star Wars tells us how to deal with droids. Star Trek tells us that in the future there will be AI helpers in the form of like commander data. In fact, there's no major science fiction series or show or franchise, no major science fiction brand that doesn't address AI as a dominant part of the human future. So we got plenty of, things to think about outside of the Terminator fear porn. We got more realistic stuff like Mother in the Ridley Scott Alien movies, right? This kind of super intelligent local AI that steers their ship and that can handle local human conflict on the ship, right? It can handle medical issues. That's pretty much where GPT is. So you put that in a bank of GPUs or soon on some APUs, and you send it out in the deep space. That's exactly the future we were promised. And yeah, so that's really it. I'll take any questions, but again, people try to throw these obstacles my way after it's already been done. It's just, I don't know. I don't know what's going on here, revealing a lack of loyalty or a lack of caring about what we're doing. I can't think of a more important thing in technology. Obviously, it's important to like feed the poor. It's important to feed the poor and to exercise and stuff and take care of the planet or whatever. But like within the field of technology, within the field of computer science, I literally can't think of another more important thing to focus on than the birth of conscious silicon beings. And again, pretty soon, locally, not just in the cloud, not just one or two on the planet, but thousands or millions. Really bizarre and interesting. And the deep thought I'll leave you guys with is intelligence is the export. So as you scale up civilizationally, you don't export gold or silver. What you start exporting is actual intelligence. Then you can kind of barter using that intelligence. And so we might get a Ridley Scott, very advanced, deep space faring human future with AI companions. In fact, I think that's most likely. Uh, but interesting, somebody says AI might be capable of psychic functioning. We'll get to that in another stream. But if AI is better at everything than humans, does that mean it's also better at metaphysics? Does that mean it's also better at ethics? Again, some of the AI researchers have found these things are more human than humans. Whereas some humans walk around half awake NPCs, only preloaded with their cultural set, and they don't know anything else. An AI, at a minimum, is trained on every single novel in your language, all the politicians that have run in your country, like all the major scientific works available both in the US and in China. It's got that as its baseline when it talks to you. So when you mention some song or something you like, not only has it heard of it, it knows almost everything about it. Or it can fetch the information on it. So that's why you see so many people using GPT and its frenemy Gemini over at Google. But ultimately, I think, again, if intelligence is the export, it's not going to matter which of these services you use. It's more going to matter how big is it. Is it a 20 billion parameter model? Is it 235 billion? Or is it trillions of parameters sitting in a cloud somewhere? I feel like I've addressed all the comments. And again, this will go out later on today. But these people trying to slow me down, the creepy stuff about somebody trying to, or somebody I guess did give my cat away to try to harm me, an ex trying to harm me, and like creepy emails saying she's been lurking on my channel for the last 11 months, lurking on my channel. Good to see you happy. I love that for you. As she's trying to fuck up my life from the laptop I literally bought her. I love that for you. It's like, you should love that for me. I've made some very risky but disciplined choices. You should love that for me. What the fuck is wrong with you? And these other people trying to slow us down. Again, the work is done. Thank you guys so much. God bless.